you don't have to be very dumb to be able to make a BitTorrent inquiry that enables you to download The Watchmen or whatever movie it is that isn't yet available on DVD or may even still be out in the cinema. All these things are now possible. And you will have to have been living in a cave not to be aware that this is upsetting the film industry, the music industry, and all the industries that hold the rights to the so-called intellectual property. Now, what I want to say as I end my speech, if it is a speech, my address to you all, and I'm not sure that I know what I really think about this, but I want to say that I have a suspicion that my business, in other words, the film business, the television business, the music business, is doing the wrong thing. It is, especially in America, but it is also doing it in Europe and here in Britain. It is aggressively prosecuting people who illegally download. Now, I think most of us would agree that somebody who downloads on an industrial scale in order to sell and make a profit probably should be prosecuted. But what I have tried to make the people in my own business understand, and many of them refuse to understand it, is that it does no good whatsoever to label people as criminals. We all know that preposterous, irritating commercial that's on every fucking DVD of that, you wouldn't steal a handbag. No. And you want to make, you want to find the person who made that commercial and say, can you not see the difference? Are you truly so blind as to think that all morality is so absolute that somebody who BitTorrents an episode of their favorite American TV show, 24, so they can see an episode before anybody else, is the same as somebody who steals somebody's handbag? Do you not see the difference? Do you not see that when I was illegally taping, it didn't mean I crossed a line into criminality from which I can never escape, that I am now a criminal, I will never be a good citizen, I am the enemy of the copyright makers, the enemy of the creative artist, I am destroying live music? Do you not see it's because I was a student, because I loved music, because I wanted a good compilation, because I was excited about the possibilities of having my own compilation, and that the moment I could afford to buy music, I bought music, because I wanted to. And that is what 98%, I would submit, at the very least, of all of you are like. I bet most of you have illegally downloaded at some time. But that does not mean that you are now the enemies of society. It does not now mean you should be characterized as criminals and pirates and destroyers of art and enemies of musicians and enemies of filmmakers. And that seems to me so stupid. It's stupid simply psychologically, because it seems to misunderstand how human beings are. We're not we're not nouns, we're verbs, we're processes, we are being things through our life. We're not now suddenly criminals. It also misunderstands a lot of extremely important research that shows actually weak copyright encourages artistic creation. There's been a very important Harvard study that has shown exactly that. Another Dutch study showed that the harder you are, the more you crack down on, and there are various ways of doing it, one of which is throttling the pipeline, throttling the broadband pipeline. So if anybody uses a BitTorrent, a peer-to-peer sharing network, they are suddenly given, a sort of phone dial-up speed internet connection instead of the broadband one they're paid for, or by the recording rights industry people from music in this country and America and elsewhere making incredible swoops on ordinary citizens whom they manage to catch out and making examples of them by taking them to court and having them fined hundreds of thousands of pounds for downloading a film or something. I think it is the stupidest thing the recording industry can do is to alienate people who love music. I mean, how can you be so dumb? Surely the one thing you want to do is to come to a sensible accommodation. And I suppose the reason I wanted to talk about this is a music festival. We've got extraordinary bands over this whole month performing. I don't believe that most of them are actually in favour of the kinds of draconian policing that their record companies and the PRS and various other people who are pursuing so actively and so angrily are doing. I think most of us actually say, look, lighten up. The fact is, there is an urge for creativity on both sides. There's an urge for people to participate in music and in film and in television and to watch it and to see it. And yes, of course, if they're young and they're poor and they can get it free, they'll get it free. But then, frankly, when they've got a job, they find it easier to go into a shop and buy it or to download it through a normal paying institution or similar. So that's what I wanted to discuss. I'm not sure I'm right. I know that a lot of what I've said might be considered very controversial. And it is perfectly possible that there will be headlines in certain websites, certain newspapers, saying, Stephen Fry says, open the door to all manner of piracy. And then I'll have friends of mine saying, you irresponsible arsehole, how dare you do this? You're stealing the bread from the mouths of poor songwriters and poor filmmakers and so on. I've yet to meet a poor filmmaker, but there you go. No, of course there are. I'm being very unfair, but the fact is, this is something I think we really ought to talk about. And I think the problem is the only people who've talked about it in the Digital Britain debate that led up to the Carter report that recently came out were industry insiders. And the only people who talk about it on the serious websites are either people who work for the record companies or people who, work as sort of kind of mavericks outside the industry. And both of them have a very vested interest in either opening everything up or closing everything down. I think it's people like us, well, more you than me, let's be honest, the consumers of music who have been ignored in this debate. And my suspicion is that you are not all thieving bastards who will just take anything that you can get free and to hell with whoever created it. If you had the opportunity to pay a reasonable price, fairly, you would be a loyal supporter, customer of your band, your musician, your film, whatever. And we just need to work out how that can best be done in the light of the current technology. That's really all I've got to say. It wasn't particularly amusing, but that's it. Thank you. You're very kind. Thank you. Thank you very much.